Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Em, and this is the start of my spooky reading vlog. Why am I having to do a specific reading vlog, you ask? Why, thank you for asking. Because it is October 6th, and I have only been reading Christmas books so far this month, which was not the vibe I thought I was going to be rolling into October with. So in order to course correct, we're gonna read some spooky books. I have a little pile of spooky possibilities here. Will I read all 5 of these in this vlog? No, I will not. But I am really hoping to read at least 3 of them. Maybe 4. I am already halfway through one of them. I have already started The Night Housekeeper by Laura Sempf. This is the sequel to The Clackety. I'm liking it, but not prioritizing it for some reason. So I'm hoping this vlog can help me to get on track with the spooky reading. So I have this going physically because this is an ARC and Clackety does not come out until October 17th, I think, which feels late for a Halloween book. I feel like we should be publishing, I don't know. October 17th just feels late. Simon and Schuster, I'm just gonna say it. Well, because this is an ARC, I don't have access to an audiobook, so I do need a spooky audiobook. One of the choices is Rebecca, but I don't think I'm ready for Rebecca. So I'm actually trying to pick between Venco by Sherry Nimeline, which is witchy, and then Bindle Punk Bruja. I'm kind of leaning towards this because we have about 9 days left in Latinx Heritage Month. So I was thinking Bindle Punk Bruja might be appropriate for that. I also have this one on Libro as an audiobook. I think this is on Scribd as an audiobook, but I'm not super confident in that, but I know I have this one on Libro. So that is the plan for now. Let me do a little update for The Night Housekeeper since I am halfway through this. So this starts just a couple of weeks after Evie has gotten back from the events that take place in the Clackety. And she is obviously dealing with a lot of trauma from that experience. And her aunt is similarly dealing with some trauma. And the ghosts in their town of Blight Harbor start to go missing. Evie is very concerned and is brought in by her aunt to this committee that, what do they call themselves? They're basically the people that help keep track of like the supernatural stuff that happens in Blight Harbor. And they talk about the ghosts being missing and that these doors are opening up, and these doors are really concerning because once they close, they don't open again, and they don't open in the same place, and so getting back from this other world dimension is almost impossible. Evie's aunt Des makes her promise that she will not go through another door, and Evie says okay. And if you have ever read a book in your life, you know how that actually goes. I find this world that Laura Sempf has built like deliciously creepy, and I'm having a good time. I'm struggling because it's a physical eyeballs only type of book. I'm gonna give it my best shot. So let's do it. Hey friends, all right, so I finished what is this book called? The Night Housekeeper. I think this book is definitely going to be a longer running series. Laura Sempf definitely established a continuing quest for Evie to go on, even as she's having these like smaller adventures in each book. I didn't reread The Clackety before this, and if you've already read The Clackety, I don't think you need to, but I will say I don't remember the Clackety being as sad as this one is, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just faded. I would have to go find my review on Instagram and see if I wrote about it. But because Evie has lost her parents 4 years before, and just that grief and just the themes and the topics in here they're sad. They're sad. This book is also very creepy. I didn't find it quite as creepy as the Clackety, but it did get gross in a way I do not remember the Clackety getting. Not body horror gross, but like creepy crawly things gross. But I did have a really good time with it, and oddly enough, I really like Evie. I really like this town of Blight Harbor. I kind of actually wish we got to spend more time in Blight Harbor in this book. We were there for a brief bit in the beginning and then a brief bit at the end. And I find Blight Harbor really fascinating in that we have this town where everyone can see ghosts, and the ghosts are just as much a regular citizen as the living people. And I always want a little bit more about Blight Harbor specifically. So I'm hoping in whatever book comes next get that, because I think that would be really cool and really fun just to find out more about it. But yeah, so that's one book down, and I am excited to see what I pick up next. All right, it's time for me to start an audiobook, and I put a poll up on Instagram to see which one I should start first. So let's check the poll. I put up the first line of each book without any context. Oh, okay. I Am Who I Say I Am is like a 75% winner, and that is Bindle Punk Bruja. So this is the audiobook I am going to start today. I'm pretty excited. All I know about it is that I think it's like historical fantasy in the 20s, and I think there's maybe a murder mystery. Definitely a mystery. I'm not sure if anybody gets murderated, but we'll find out. Back home, I want to show you what I got from the library. We went to a library that is not our library, but in our library system. But they have a very good selection of science fiction and fantasy. So I impulsively checked out some books that are not on my TBR, but that I've kind of been wanting to read. I snagged Clown in a Cornfield. Don't ask me why I want to read this, but I really want to read this. So we'll see if I'm brave enough is really what it comes down to. And if you've read this, let me know how scary it is, please. I also grabbed The Enchanted Hacienda because somebody said it's like Encanto, and I love Encanto, and I don't know, felt like it might be a good seasonal read that's not scary, because I think there's a romance in this one. And then the last one I grabbed is The Will of the Many. I grabbed this because my friend Ashley on Instagram just finished reading it and absolutely loved it. And Ashley and I have a pretty decent overlap in the Venn diagram of our reading tastes, and I don't know if I'll actually read it because it's kind of chunky. And it's a new release, which means I can't renew it. So we'll see if I actually get to it in 3 weeks, but readers are nothing if not optimistic. I am 93 pages in, a little shy of 100 pages in to Bindle Punk Bruja, and I am not loving it so far. I was incorrect. This is not a murder mystery. This is historical fantasy. There's not a mystery. There hasn't been any murder yet. There could be. But this takes place in the 1920s in Kansas City. And our main character, Luna, aka Rose, is a Mexican American who passes as white, and she is a bootlegger by night and a newspaper reporter by day. She is dealing with these mobsters trying to encroach on her bootlegger territory. She is dealing with like flack from her brother who does not pass as white. She is dealing with patriarchy. She is dealing with so many things. I'm torn on the writing. Most of the writing is really great. The thing that is throwing me off is that the author really is leaning into that 1920s lingo, which sometimes feels like a caricature of how people spoke in that time period, and it ends up being, I think, more distracting than like world building, if that makes sense. The other thing I'm really struggling with is the same thing I struggled with in The Wolf of Oren Yarrow, if you saw that vlog, where every single man is trying to assault this woman. Every single one. Nobody is even trying. It's all vaguely threatening. And sometimes not vaguely threatening. Sometimes it's just outright threatening. And it just gets, for me, it just gets exhausting when it happens over and over and over again. And like, yes, I understand. I know this is a real thing. I know. I have lived it. I do not need, like, where the way some men talk to women and the way women are viewed as men's property in some situations, and that men are entitled to our bodies and our desires and nothing we have is really our own. Like, we're still dealing with this. I'm not the type of reader that wants it in my fiction. I don't find it cathartic. I just find it exhausting. It doesn't make for a compelling read for me. I will say the magic is very, very much in the background. It is not the forefront. This reads way more like historical fiction with a little bit of magic, kind of like how Babel is mostly historical fiction with a little bit of magic. So that's my update. I will, of course, update when I get farther in. I'm gonna let you know what I think then. All right, I finished Bindle Punk Bruja by Desideria Mesa, and okay, this is basically historical fiction. If you're looking with like a little bit of fantasy, if you're looking for a witchy time, as the word bruja suggests, this is not going to give you that witchy time. But this is pretty heavy content wise. Rose slash Luna, but she really just goes by Rose the whole book, is a daughter of an immigrant passing as white in the 1920s in Kansas City. I think I said all of this earlier, but so she's dealing with a lot of stuff. There is a lot of violence in this book. This book gets pretty dark. There is fantastic queer rep, but because there is queer rep, there is also a lot of violence against queer people as well. So just like be aware of that going in. But I think if you like, okay, I haven't finished it, so I'm going out on a limb. I think if you liked When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, this might also be up your alley, perhaps. It was not quite up my alley. I'm waffling between a 3 and a 3.5. I think for now I'm going to do like a 3.25. Just be in the middle. Because while I did like parts of it, I didn't like all of it. I did like the writing for the most part. She does do a thing throughout the whole book where she's not always very good about telling you who the character is that's speaking, or not telling you who the character is right away. And so you have to like either figure it out on your own or like just wait for her to tell you. And so that was kind of confusing. The dialect for 1920s, while on audio is fine, physically and the writing of it was very distracting and almost felt like I was having to like decipher some stuff, which I didn't love. Like, you're making me work too hard to understand what's happening in your book. There is a romance in here, which I did end up really liking how the romance went, and I liked the development of that. There's actually several romances, and I did like how those were written and how those were handled. And also there was just not enough magic. Like, if you're going to put Bruja in your title, I'm expecting a witchy time, and the witchiness just didn't come in until towards the end. It's almost like the author started off with this concept and then forgot about the concept, and then got to the end of the book and was like, oh crap. This is what I established at the beginning. I guess I better circle back around and make that a part of the book. It's done, and it's bedtime, and I am still somehow only reading one book at a time. So I hate starting a new book right before I go to bed, but I feel like I'm going to have to start a new book right before I go to bed because I can't go to sleep without reading something. So I'm going to have to figure that out. And I'll let you know tomorrow what I decided to start. Hi, friends. What time is it? It's the next day. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. And I'm going to be honest, work totally kicked my butt. Everyone was fine. Classes were lovely. I just am dragging today. But I definitely could not pick what to read last night and decided to read the first chapter of the 3 that kind of stood out the most for me. I tried the first chapter of We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry, and I found myself getting distracted in the first chapter and not tracking what was being said, so I'm not going to read this right now. It's still in my TBR, it's just not in the moment. And then I also read the first chapter of The Enchanted Hacienda, and I really liked this first chapter. I am definitely going to read this month because this started off with Harlow, who lives in New York City, and she gets fired from her dream job at the beginning of the book, and she had been working as an editor at a publisher, and she's so sad about it, and then calls her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's kind of a dick, and he's not very sympathetic. And then he's like, oh, but baby, we have my big work party tonight, you have to show up for me. If she does not break up with him in the next chapter, I'm gonna be so mad. But I like the writing. I'm really intrigued with the storyline. I know from like the little bit of the synopsis that she's gonna end up going back to her family's farm in Mexico, where the rest of her family lives. No, wait, one of her sisters is in California, but her parents are still in Mexico. And I know she's gonna end up going back, but she is one of 3 sisters, and there's magic in her family, and she's the only one that doesn't have any magic. I will be reading this one. I really liked it. But ultimately, I did decide to go with Venko because I've just had this on my TBR for a long time, and I've heard such good things about it. And this, I think, will give me the witchiness I was looking for that I didn't get in Bindle Punk Bruja, which is also why I didn't pick We Ride Upon Sticks. Or another reason is that I don't think that's going to give me witches the way I want. I think this one is going to give me witches. And the way I've heard this described is that it's a road trip between a woman and her grandmother and a magical showdown. So yes. And I have read up to chapter 6. I do have it on audio. I have not loving the audiobook experience. The narrator, her vocal quality is a little monotone, which I don't love, and she doesn't do voices. So she's truly just narrating. She's not performing. But I like the writing, and so far we're going back and forth between these 3 witches that work for or run the Venko company. So we're getting their perspective, and then we're getting Lucky, who is our main character, and then we're getting flashbacks of Lucky's childhood growing up with her alcoholic mother, and then we got one brief perspective from this guy in the desert who sounds like a real dick, if I'm being honest. And it's probably the bad guy. So yes, this is what I'm gonna read, and I've already said this. I'm excited. I'm so tired. Okay, I'm gonna go have caffeine, and I'm gonna read for a little bit before I have to go get the youngest from school. It is very wet and gray and rainy outside, and I'm just using that as an excuse to have a stay-at-home cozy rest of the day. Hey friends, good morning. It is the perfect fall day today. It's rainy, not like torrential downpour, but just like rainy enough to be cozy. The leaves, can you even, are starting to change color. There are leaves on the ground. It's just, it's so seasonally, it's perfect. I really wish I didn't have to go to work today, but I do. I just got done at my social media bookstore job, and I snagged an ARC from the back that I'm so excited about. It might derail the rest of the reading for this vlog, maybe, but it's Unbecoming a Lady, The Forgotten Shrews and Sluts That Shaped America by Therese O'Neill. Listen, Therese O'Neill is one of my favorite nonfiction writers. Her other two books are Unmentionable, The Victorian Lady's Guide to Sex, Marriage, and Manners, and Ungovernable, The Victorian Parent's Guide to Raising Flawless Children. My go-to recommendation is Unmentionable. It's so funny and also horrific. And she writes those two like she is your tour guide, and you are going to time travel back to Victorian times, and she is going to help you unlearn all your modern feminist ways so that you can be the ideal Victorian lady. It's so funny. It's so tongue-in-cheek, and I'm just so excited for this one. I really don't even care what it's about. I just saw her name and I was like, yay! So we will see if this totally derails me. The point of this vlog, I got halfway through Venko yesterday, maybe a little over halfway, because I don't think it's quite 400 pages, and I'm on page 200, and I am really liking it so far. And I feel like Sherry Demeline, first of all, her writing is so good. It's just so good. I knew it was good already because I've read one of her YA books, but this is just a reminder. It's so good. And I love the way she builds character. You know, there are a lot of people in this book, but she does such a good job of staggering how she introduces them to you that it hasn't felt overwhelming. I'm not confused about who's who because they all feel so distinct. This book is so very inclusive in who gets to be a witch and what a witch looks like, and I love that. I'm really, really liking it. Oh no, there's a gnat in my car. How did that happen? Anyways, that's my least favorite thing about fall is the gnats come out to play. But anyways, I'm having a great time. I should go and work out today for my mental health's sake, but I really just want to go home and curl up and read my two current obsessions. But I should go move my body a little bit after work. So I might do that, or I might just go home and curl up with tea and a blanket and a YouTube fireplace ASMR video. Anyways, that is your update for today. I will probably wait an update for Venko when I am finished with it because I imagine it's going to go pretty quick. Good morning, friends. It's the next day. I finished Venko this morning. I really liked it. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. Don't ask me why it's not a 5. I don't know. It's just a feeling. I can't explain it any more than that. I can't tell you what I would have needed in that book for it to be like a full 5 stars, but I really liked it. I think if you're looking for a modern witchy time, it's really good. It is really fast paced at the end. Maybe that's what. There were parts where the pacing felt a little slower, so I didn't feel like the pacing was even the whole time. In terms of character and plot and atmosphere and all that stuff, I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a witchy book to read, but do check your content warnings because it did get violent. For today's Thursday. Today's Wednesday. I was gonna have this vlog go until Friday, so then I'd have like Saturday to finish up the editing and then have it out on Sunday. So I think I have time to read one more book. I'm torn between picking up where I left off on The Enchanted Hacienda or maybe reading Mammoths at the Gate. I'm leaning toward Mammoths at the Gate only because it's a novella, so it's a little bit shorter and I already own it. Whereas Enchanted Hacienda is a library book. Though I know Mammoth at the Gate isn't going to be spooky or it's not going to fit with the theme of the vlog, so I probably should keep going with the Enchanted Hacienda because I did really like this. And while this is not going to be spooky, it is going to be magical. I think it'll be a good October read. So I guess I'm going with this one. I talked myself into it. Hello, friends. I have a quick update before I get in the shower and I get ready for bed. First update is that I just read The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. This is a whole collection of short stories, but I just got it to read The Lottery because Novel Pairings podcast is doing a short story club series. And the first one was The Lottery, and so I wanted to read it, and now tomorrow I can listen to their episode about it. But this was very dark and very disturbing, and it's my first Shirley Jackson, and now I'm unsure if I actually want to continue to read her work because I found it very disturbing. It made me uncomfortable, and I know that's the point, but I didn't like that feeling, so yeah. We'll see if I continue on with her work. I'm not going to say what it's about because it's like 10 pages. I can see why it made such a stir when it was originally published in 1948. Yeah, I can see why. But on happier news, I'm 124 pages into the Enchanted Hacienda, and I am ready to make this book my whole personality. I am loving it so much. If you like cozy fantasy, like I'm specifically thinking of this very secret society of irregular witches. Like if that is your vibe, your brand of cozy, like this is a great match for it. There is so far, the romance is more in the forefront so far than it is in Irregular Witches, but this is about Harlow, who is living in New York City, and she has her dream job, and she's unexpectedly fired, and then breaks up with her trash boyfriend who did not deserve her, and then is called home to her family's farm in Mexico where they grow flowers and there's magic. And the magic's kind of a secret. And Harlow has 3 sisters, and basically every woman in her family is magical except for Harlow. The magic just skipped her. And I like it so much. It's really cozy. It's really, like, there's a lot of warmth to it. I'm really loving Harlow. She's got a lot of insecurity from being the only person in her family that doesn't have magic. She's doesn't place a lot of value in herself and in what she's capable of, and I'm sure the growth of the book is going to be her learning to believe in herself and to trust herself and that she does have value even if she doesn't have magic. Though I'm secretly hoping she does have like latent magic abilities or just like some sort of magic ability that isn't like her family's, and so she's always missed that aspect is magic. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I hope it does. And we've met the love interest already. It wasn't insta lovey, but it was definitely like insta attraction, which it's fine. I can overlook that in a fantasy. Though I would argue this is maybe more magical realism. This is also kind of reminding me of like Sarah Addison Allen's brand of magical realism. But I'm enjoying this more than I've enjoyed most Sarah Addison Allen books. But anyways, I'm really loving it. I got the audio. I love the narrator, and I am just blazing through this book. I just want to be listening to it or reading it all the time. That's my update. I need to go shower and get ready for bed. Today was a long day, and tomorrow's going to be long again. All the days are long. I don't know when the days get not long. Tomorrow's my Friday. Tomorrow is also my kids' Friday because they don't have school on actual Friday. So we just have one more day and then we can slow down a little bit. All right, I'm gonna stop talking and go do what I need to do. Bye. I finished The Enchanted Hacienda this morning, and I'm sad to say it's not a 5-star I was anticipating it being, but I felt like it was going to be. I did settle on a 4.25. There's a chunk in the middle where Harlow leaves her family's farm and goes to Canada for reasons, and that part lost me. That was also the part where it was highly focused on the romance, and I didn't love the romance, which was hard. I really wanted more of like her family, and I wanted her discovery of herself to be more from internal or through her family, but it really is the romance that leads to the discoveries that she makes. So that was a little bit of a letdown. But I did still really like it. Obviously, it's not a favorite in the way The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches is a favorite, but I did love the magic in this. I liked the family a lot, and I did like the characters. Like I said, it was a 4.25. I still had a really lovely time reading this. I think it's like if you want a seasonal read that isn't scary or spooky or gross, that's not horror or mystery, but is like magical but cozy and gentle, I think this is a lovely book to read for the season. So I would definitely recommend it for that. It reads as a standalone. I would not mind more stories about Harlow's sisters or her primas. Like there were a lot of characters that could have their own books as well that would be really interesting, but I don't think this is being marketed as a romance, and so I don't know if it'll follow the path that romance series follow. So we'll have to wait and see. This author has written up some middle grade titles that I recognized that I am now even more interested in checking out, because I think if I like this, I'll probably really like her middle grade. And then she does have 3 young adult novels that I don't recognize, and then I think this is her adult debut. So I will definitely read more from her because at the end of the day, I had a good time. And with that, we come to the end of this reading vlog. I mean, not too shabby. Granted, I mean, I only read one short story out of this, so it's not like, you know, I read the whole thing. But 4 books plus a short story, not bad for kicking off some seasonal reading, I would say. If I had to put them in order of enjoyment, The Lottery is definitely at the bottom because that one was dark. And then Bindle Punk Bruja, I think. And then The Enchanted Hacienda. And then Night Housekeeper. And then I think Van Co is my favorite book that I read this week. It's only been a week. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you have made it to this part of the video, I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I read this week. If you have recommendations for books you think I would like, I would love to hear them. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you are here, let's do a witch emoji or a broom emoji. Is there a broom emoji? Yeah. Oh, okay. Some sort of witchy emoji. And I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.